Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. So as you can see, it's pretty miserable outside, so I'm going to be doing my video inside. I've been asked by one of my subscribers to do a video about the process of buying a house in France. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully I'm going to split it down to 3 simple processes for you, and we'll discuss each one as we go along. So let's get going. So have you dreamt of buying a house in France, whether it's to live here permanently or as a holiday home to enjoy what normally is the glorious weather that you can get in France? Well, I'm going to go through the process of buying a house. I'm going to go through 3 different steps. So the first one, I'm going to look at viewing the properties and what you need to consider when you're viewing a property. The second one is I'll go through the process of buying the property. And then the third section, I'm going to talk about the costs involved in buying a house here in France. I hope it's really informative, and let's get going with the first section. There's lots of places you can look for properties. So typically local papers have adverts for sales of local houses. Whether you're looking online, there's certain Facebook groups now. I've got a link below to a good Facebook group that has properties for sale in France, but also things like auctions. They have auctions here in France for houses, and you can get good deals there. But also online, there's many websites that sell French property, and of course your classic estate agents as well. Again, if you're going to be using estate agents, personally I would recommend trying to find one that speaks English, purely because it can help you through the process, or they can help you through the process. And we did that. We did use French estate agents and English, but we ended up buying with someone that spoke English, and it really helped us with that process of buying a house in France. You don't have to, but it does help. Also, it's becoming more and more common for estate agents especially to do virtual visits. Now, whether that's a pre-recorded video of the house, or they can possibly go to the house and do a video call to show you the house. But if you're obviously in the UK and you like a property, then I would recommend seeing if the estate agent can do a virtual visit. It's a really good way of initially seeing the property and the flow of the property, of whether you like it or not. That would definitely be a top tip for me, is actually try and view it virtually first. But if you can't visit it virtually, then yes, absolutely you need to go and visit the property. I would recommend definitely that people see properties, because although the photos can be great, there's nothing quite like actually seeing a property up close and seeing if there's any quirks around that property, and just so that you're fully aware of what you're potentially going to be putting an offer in. So definitely view the property. Now, we viewed our property in November, so actually it was similar weather as it is today, but the advantage of that was that actually we saw the house probably at its worst. It was wet, it was damp, it was muddy, there was no flowers, and so we really saw the property at the worst. And actually in doing so, when we bought the property and then came here and saw it in the summer, we thought, wow, this is amazing. This is like 10 times better than we thought it was when we first viewed it. But it's a really good way of viewing the property at its worst. If you love the property in the winter, you're going to absolutely love it in the summer. Something to be prepared about is if you are viewing a property with an estate agent, they'll often get you to sign a small slip of paper called a bond de visite. It basically has 2 uses. The first is to sign to say that you've seen the property with them. Again, often in France, properties can be with maybe 2 or 3 different estate agents, and so they need to make sure that they've got something to sign to say that you've seen the property with them. But obviously the second element of that is also covers for their insurance. If anything was going to happen to you on the property, they can prove that you were there visiting the property with them. So it's not a big contract, it's a small little thing. It's just saying that you're viewing the property with them. So that's something to be aware of, because again, when we first came out to see houses, we weren't aware of that, and we were thinking, well, wait a minute, what are we signing away, not knowing the language or anything else. So that's something to be aware of. It's called the bond de visite, and you'll need to sign that. As with the case of any house, when you're buying a house, I would always recommend having a look around the area. and the neighbours, because what you don't want to do is move somewhere and then suddenly find that you've either got really bad neighbours or the area doesn't suit your needs. Again, we have 2 cats, and so we wanted to make sure that our house was on a dead-end road or a road that wasn't used very often. So that was quite important to us because we wanted our cats to be free, and so finding a property that was relatively rural was quite important. However, then again, we didn't want to be too rural because we actually wanted to be close to supermarkets and towns where you can buy things and stuff like that. So it was a fine balance, but think about what you want to get out of a house. Again, often people buy houses in France, they want complete rurality, if I can say that correctly, where they have no neighbours and no one nearby. But actually they can kind of find that it's, becomes a bit isolating. So think about what you want out of your home or holiday house, and actually being closer to a town or in a town can often suit your needs much better. So think about that carefully around the surrounding areas. But also, again, like in Britain, probably similar advice, go and check out the house at different times of the day. So maybe go there at night, how quiet is it? Does the neighbour have a drum kit and he does a drum practice in the evening? It's always good just to get an idea of sort of the surrounding area, so you know that when you're buying a house, you are happy with it and there's going to be no surprises. Obviously, you can never stay there 24/7 for 2 weeks to make sure everything's there, but it's just minimizing those risks for you. Again, talking about kind of what sort of property you want to buy, I've known quite a few people here in France who've bought properties with loads of land because they absolutely love the land and think, oh, I can't believe how much land I can get for my money. But of course, the problem is with land is you do have to maintain it, whether that's mowing or looking after it or things like that. So again, just be considerate around what you want. Why do you want that land? If you don't really need it for any specific purpose, for animals or for a campsite or whatever you want to do, then actually it's probably better not to get that extra land, because you probably will find that it becomes quite time consuming. We've got quite a lot of land here, and in the spring when the grass grows, I'm spending kind of a day a week just mowing the lawns and trimming and everything else. Okay, so you've found your perfect property and you want to put an offer. That's great. So what I would recommend and what we did is put an offer in verbally and speak to the estate agents. And once you've agreed a price, because there may be a bit of negotiation around that price, follow it up with an email just so that you've got some proof and confirmation of the offer that you're submitting. Sometimes some agents will get you to sign an offer d'achat, which is a promise for the offer that you've put in, and that's typically signed by both the seller and the buyer, and it's kind of an official document that says that you are putting an offer in at this price. Not all estate agents do it. We didn't do it here. We just agreed it over the phone and then followed it up with an email, and that was enough. But it's worth being aware that some agents will ask you to sign that as well. But one thing I would say is you do not have to pay anything at this stage. So if any agent or anyone asks you for any deposit or anything else, you don't need to pay a deposit at this stage. This isn't the point where you pay any money. You're just putting an offer in and making it official. The deposit will come at a slightly later date when you sign the first contract. In France, once you've put an offer in, some houses will have a diagnostic report completed on them before you put an offer in, and you may be able to view them. Again, it's worth asking the estate agent whether they've got those reports, and if they've got the reports, then that's great because it gives you an idea of the electrics. So the reports generally consist of energy, which they have to do, so you have to have an energy certificate to sell your house, but then they'll also do things like an electrical report, a gas report, an asbestos report, a lead report, and also a sanitation report. So that's looking at things like your fosse septique or whether you're on mains drainage. And so you'll have those reports. Now, as I say, some will be done beforehand, but you don't have to, as a seller, you don't have to get all those reports done in order to sell your house, but you will have to get those reports before the first contracts are signed. So before you sign any, the first contract is called a compromis de vente, so a promise to sell, basically. Within that document, will have all of these diagnostic reports. It's illegal not to have those reports at that stage. So you will see all of those reports before you sign any contract and before you put any deposit down. So in some areas, they also have termite reports. They also have things like radon reports. Some are given to you at the stage of, or most of them are given to you at the stage of the compromis, but not all of them are done all across France. So certainly in the area we didn't have to have a termite report. Now in the UK, typically you would have a building structural report, and where you'll have someone coming down and making sure that the structure of the building is correct. In France, they don't have that, so don't expect a structural report. You're going to have a look at the structure of the building yourself and make your own judgment. If you want to, there are people that offer the services to do a structural report. So other things to consider is the time to get permits to do things that you may want to do with your house. For example, if you've got a barn and you want to convert them into gîtes, you need to speak to your mairie about these forms. Well, it may be that you want to put a condition in the compromis de vente that you're going to get approval for the project that you want to do. It gets a little bit more complicated, but there is the option of doing something like that. Okay, so the compromis de vente signed, everything's there. You're waiting for the final signature of the act. As I said, 2 to 3 months is a typical timeline. You get to signing of the act. Now, at this stage, I would always recommend that you go over to France to sign this contract for 2 reasons. Firstly, because you want to view the property either on the day or the day before signing of the act, because when you sign the act or when you sign a contract, you are taking on that property as seen. So you need to make sure that it is still the same as when you saw it, when you viewed it. It can be that the process from viewing the property to the final signature has been 6 months, 8 months, and anything could have happened during that time. So viewing the property is a must. Go and view it the same day or the day before. Just make sure that the roof hasn't been blown off or there's no major problems. And if there is, then obviously you'll need to go to the meeting and speak to the notaire about how to proceed with that. Also, you need to make sure that you've transferred the remaining funds to the notaire. Now, this typically needs to be given to the notaire 2 or 3 days before the final signing of the act. So obviously, if you're in the UK, you're going to have to organise it transferring the money. Now, there's lots of money transferring companies out there. I'm going to put a link down below to a company that I use called Lumens. And there's a very nice lady called Carolyn who dealt with me, who will probably deal with you. So there's a link below, click on the link and you can open an account with them and get a rate checked with them. But when you're transferring money, make sure you do it in advance. Don't wait till the last minute. So really, once you've signed the compromis de vente, I would then start looking at money transfer companies. They can also offer you advice of when the best time to transfer the money is. And it could be that you transfer it slightly earlier, or it may be that when it comes to 2 or 3 days before the signing of the act, because you've already got a contract with them or set up an account, you can just ring them up, get a rate, and then if you're happy with it, go for it. But as I said, there's a link to the company that I use. Feel free to click the link and open up an account with them. As I said, Carolyn's really nice, and if you do speak to Carolyn, say hello from me. So for the contract of the act is basically exactly the same as the compromis, or pretty much similar. But again, you may want to pay for someone to translate it for you. If you're going to the meeting, you may want to pay for a translator to be there to help translate what's going on in the meeting. Some notaires will be able to speak English and so will be able to translate for you. Some notaires will demand that you have a translator there so that they know that you fully understand what you're signing. And again, they may demand for a a translator at the compromis de vente as well. At this stage, when you sign the act, the house is then officially yours, and so you will be given the keys to the house. And as of that signing, you are the owner. So congratulations, and hopefully you found your dream house like we have here, and we wouldn't look back and we wouldn't change it for the world. These are some of the costs that you need to consider when buying a property. So the first one is estate agent fees. So again, typically the estate agent fees are built into the price of the property, but it's always worth just double checking that when you put an offer in, or before you put an offer in, that the offer that you're putting in includes estate agent fees. Estate agent fees can either be charged to the seller or charged to the buyer. So just make sure that all estate agent fees are included in the price and the offer that you put forward. So the next charge is obviously the notaire fees and any taxes and things like that. Now the notaire obviously deals with this. Typically most people say it's typically about 10% of the purchase price. So whatever your offer is that you're putting through, including estate agent fees, it's roughly about 10% of that. If you allow 10%, then you know you're going to have enough money, because it certainly won't be any more. It could be a little bit less. But the notaire, before the signing of the compromis, will let you know what those costs will be. And don't forget about them, because some people think it's just the price of the house that they're paying. It's not. There is lots of taxes that you have to pay as well. One good thing about it is the notaire will charge you for the maximum amount. So again, when we bought our house, we were charged 10% typically of the purchase price. But then 6 months later, he turned around and said, we've now processed the sale and we've done all the calculations, and actually you're due a refund. And I think we were given, I don't know, 200 or 300 quid back, I think. I can't remember exactly, but it was a nice little bonus to get back, which we weren't expecting. So although you may pay the full 10%, typically, and when I've spoken to other people, most people have had some sort of refund 6 months later when they've actually worked out and calculated all of the taxes correctly. Look who's come to say hello. He's around my feet asking for attention and meowing. So I think I'll have to give him some attention before I finish this video off. Other costs as well is things like I've mentioned, the translator. So whether you want someone to translate the contracts for you, whether you want a translator to be present in the actual meetings that you attend. Also, if you're going to do a power of attorney, then also you'll have to consider the costs of getting a UK solicitor to sign that it's actually you signing the document. Again, that's about 50 quid. But these are little costs that are worth considering and thinking about if your budget's very tight. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Hopefully I've given you a really good overview of the process of looking and buying a house and the costs involved. And I hope that's helpful for anyone looking to purchase a property in France. I would 100% recommend it. We've moved over here permanently, but whether it's a holiday home or a permanent change, I love it here, and you will too. So don't be put off by the red tape and the process of buying a property in France. Go for it. I hope this video helps you to do that. Keep looking, research, do some more research on the internet for anything else around the process, because every house sale is different and every situation is different. But just go for it. You won't regret it, I promise you. So thank you for watching this week's video. I look forward to seeing you again soon. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you get notified of future videos and you don't miss out on fantastic content like this. And I'll speak to you soon. Cheers guys, bye.